you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you're joining me from. I say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Accept my greeting according to your time zone. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You can be among the first to receive it. Then go to the comment section at all time. Leave your comment, drop your contribution. If you have suggestions, make it out there. If you have any criticism, put it down on the comment section. It will make us to get better, presenting you a better program.
The interesting part of that conversation is the subtle threat from the Dr. Zubairu, who represented Geoffrey Onyema in that meeting, saying the federal government will not take it lightly. You will not take it lightly. This is about, today is the 16th, so we have less than 10 days to the elections. Monday, there was sit at home in the southeast. Next week, Monday, there will be sit at home few days to the election. You haven't done anything. You've not taken it as a government. You've not taken any proactive steps to ensure that the southeasterners can confidently come out to vote. With these threats from Simon Ekpa-led agitators group, I wouldn't want to call it a Biafra agitator, but not IPOB, because IPOB said it's not one of them. So with these threats hanging on their neck, and the election is just a few days away, and you have not even done anything 2 weeks to the election to ensure that you're safe, begin to map the territories and ensure that you comb out these guys wherever they may be. Position yourself to make this people feel safe. And now you're talking about you will do this, will not take it lightly. It brings to the fore, for weeks now, IPOB wrote the Finland government saying this guy is a criminal, he's a terrorist, he has no business doing what he's doing. Ohaneze has also played a $50,000 bounty on his head. All of these efforts have come from the same Southeasterners that has been said they are not doing anything about it. Yet the federal government is just telling us yesterday that they will not take it lightly. So it means that nothing is on ground. Let's get to have you react to this, please.
Well, I think it's typical of the way this government has reacted to issues. We just spoke a while ago about the president's address coming too late in the day after the damage would have been done in the aftermath of the Naira redesign policy and the outburst that followed it. I think it's in keeping with character. So one is not surprised that the government left it late until now to even interact with the Finnish government. But I think it also says a lot about the way we run our foreign affairs. Finland is supposed to be a friend to Nigeria. I mean, that explains why it has an embassy in Nigeria and a full ambassador, not a charge d'affaires or any other diplomat of a lower rank. So one would have expected the Nigerian authorities to have liaised with the Finns long before now to see ways of, if you're a friendly country to another country, it's counterintuitive for you to be harboring someone who represents a threat to the security or the territorial integrity of that country. So I think Nigerians should have, used their leverage over the Finns or their friendship with the Finns to lean on the Finns to do something to aid the government. And then I also do not know if there is any, extradition agreement with Nigeria and Finland. If they are aware, Nigeria should also officially write to the Finns asking for an activation of that, asking that the individual involved be extradited to Nigeria, because he has made statements that have inflamed passions and have led to breakdown of law and order in some parts of Nigeria. Indeed, the organization on those platforms he claims to be campaigning has disowned him several times. So I think the government needs to do more in using its relations with other countries to see how that can benefit Nigeria. These days we live in a world where things are connected. Foreign affairs is connected with security. So if we run our diplomacy properly, we can get as much assistance as possible from our partners abroad that will aid in ensuring even domestic security.
All right, Godwin.
Up from the bilateral relationship Nigeria has shared with Finns so far. I want to ask at this point and get your reaction, Mr. Eric. At this point, do you think that the Nigerian, being the giant of Africa, we have been able to exercise our sovereign rights on inviting? One should think that at this point the Nigerian government should be instructing the Finn, or what do you think about our sovereign rights as a nation, and Finn giving us their feedback so far? What's your reaction? Because it doesn't add up from my part. I don't know what you think about it.
being the giant of Africa, any country can make any claims for itself. I mean, the proof of gianthood is in action. It's in the kind of respect you command amongst African countries. But I think this is just basic diplomatic exchange. In situations like this, it's typical for the foreign affairs minister of a country to summon the ambassador of another country. It's a first step towards other kinds of measures that may be taken. If in the thinking of the Nigerian government, the Finnish government is not doing enough, or if in the thinking of the Nigerian government, nothing has come up after this engagement with the Finnish ambassador, Nigeria can then escalate the matter by possibly, sending the Finnish ambassador out of Nigeria, or possibly taking another kind of escalatory diplomatic measure to register its displeasure with the Finns. But if you ask me to, give you my opinion about the reaction of the Finnish ambassador, I think it's really patronizing that at a time like this, when Nigeria is telling you that, look, there's a citizen of ours who also has dual nationality in your own country, who you are harboring in your own country, whose utterances constitute a threat to the security of our country. And then the Finnish government is talking about the rights of that individual, as if rights don't come with responsibilities, as if rights are endless, as if rights don't impose duties on the person who enjoys them. You are supposed to, even the right to freedom of expression is limited to the extent that you don't use your right to freedom of expression to malign other people's characters, to assassinate other people's characters. So I think the attitude of the Finnish ambassador shows clearly that the Finnish government is not treating this matter with the urgency it deserves. And I think if it's possible, Nigeria has other diplomatic channels to explore outside of these kind of engagements that we've just seen today, because this seems to me to be a remarkably tame engagement when you compare with the danger that the individual in question poses to Nigeria. So I think Nigeria, if it's possible, if it has other channels that it can take to escalate the matter, should right now begin to explore those measures as soon as possible. We are approaching elections. We are talking about an entire part of the country, an entire geopolitical zone consisting of 5 states that are at risk of not being peaceful enough to have elections conducted in those places. And you can't imagine the number of Nigerians who will be disenfranchised if that happens. And that's also going to tell on the legitimacy of the outcome of that elections when that time comes. So this is something that affects not just the sovereignty of Nigeria, but the security of Nigeria as well. And I think the Nigerian government needs to take measures that are stronger than the one we've just seen now. Clearly, Finland is not treating the matter with the urgency that it deserves.
Now, can you really blame the Finnish government if they are not, they are treating it with some levity, because the Nigerian government is yet to take decisive steps? And I bring this to bear on key factors. Remember that Simon Ekpa was once a lawyer of IPOB and also a member of IPOB. I say once because the IPOB Nigeria have come out to denounce him, that he's not one of them. But Simon Ekpa clearly have given a 5-day sit-at-home order, and it was carried out in the Southeast. People died and lost properties and what meant. This same Simon Ekpa came back after that and declared there will be no election in the Southeast, declared a sit-at-home in the Southeast. Now bring this to bear with the demand for, because we're talking about peace in the Southeast now, the demand for the release of Nnamdi Kanu as a measure to see that there is some relative peace around that period. Because Simon Ekpa, we might look at him to be the evil person now, but a lot of his supporters are saying that he's making this demand because the government have refused to release Nnamdi Kanu. Now put that side by side and look at the demand that Simon Ekpa is making. Do you perchance feel that or believe that if Nnamdi Kanu is released, that the sit-at-home order won't be there and the people of the Southeast can easily go to vote, as the case may be? Clearly,
that's the situation. I mean, one way to douse the tension in the Southeast is to release Nnamdi Kanu. In fact, if you release Nnamdi Kanu, since it doesn't seem to be in agreement with Simon Ekpa, the support he enjoys amongst the masses in the East is also going to weigh heavily against Simon Ekpa. In fact, it's going to amount to like pulling the rug off the feet of Simon Ekpa. But
sorry, Ene. Simon Ekpa's sit-at-home order and no election in Southeast order is premised on the continued detention of Nnamdi Kanu.
But Nnamdi Kanu's group, the IPOB, has disowned Simon Ekpa. Indeed, the IPOB has come out to say that it is not in support of the sit-at-home order, that the sit-at-home order should be only on days when Nnamdi Kanu is supposed to be taken to court. Yeah. So clearly, there is now a division within the organization. Now, a government that thinks critically, a government that is strategic in its thinking, would explore that division, releasing Nnamdi Kanu, seek for ways to, you know, reach out to Nnamdi Kanu through gestures of friendship, and then using Nnamdi Kanu to neutralize Simon Ekpa. That's the angle I'm looking at it from.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the government is not looking at it that way, or the government is trying as much as possible not to be seen, which I also think is more likely the case. The government is trying as much as possible not to be seen to be weak in its engagement with Nnamdi Kanu. The government is trying to create a situation where, in the thinking of the government, if Nigerians think, or if Nigerians assume that Nnamdi Kanu is being treated with kid gloves, then that is going to incentivize, you know, secessionist agitations in other parts of the country. That's one angle the government is looking at it from. So the government wants to be seen to be firm on Nnamdi Kanu, but that hasn't been working. Clearly, what the government needs now is to resort to soft power and not that kind of hard power in its engagement with Nnamdi Kanu. Unfortunately, it seems that those who favor the use of force, those who favor the use of, you know, naked power in its engagement with critics, seem to be the ones who dominate this government, and they seem to be the ones whose opinions weigh heavily on the president.
Okay, we have just about 1 minute to go. Critically looking at the scenario we are faced with right now, the Southeast is a border region around other states. That's Rivers, Akwa Ibom, the, Delta, and all of that. There is no way, if there is a crisis in the South, that it will not filter into all of these states. Because we're talking about Southeast right now because of the position geographically they occupy. How critical do you think it is for this government to take all of these issues seriously, especially before, if we also include the right of the voters here before the elections?
Well, you can't even quantify the importance of the Southeast as a part of the country. I mean, we are a federation, and once there is a total breakdown of law and order, once there's anarchy in one part of the federation, it affects the entire nation. We are talking about elections, and for those elections, for the results of those elections to be acceptable to the political players, it must be seen that, I mean, there are some political players who see the Southeast as, you know, the region where they enjoy the greatest possibility of winning votes. So if those people notice that there's an attempt to disenfranchise the people of the Southeast by refusing to guarantee security in that era, they are going to cry out, and that's going to tell on the legitimacy of the elections. We want a situation where the results of the elections will be acceptable to all the contestants. And once you create a situation where people begin to feel that this is a deliberate attempt by indirect means to disenfranchise people from a part of the country that they consider to be their base, then we are already laying the foundation for post-election violence, for post-election litigation. So that's the angle from which I see it, outside of issues of security and peace, which I think are already obvious for us to see.